Good morning, everybody. What is happening? My name is Michael Rutherford. I am in San Diego, California. Glad to be hosting this morning's Hangout, the Rippln HQ Saturday morning Hangout. Let's see, what's the date? We're about to close out August. We're on the 24th of August. For those of you that are just tuning in and maybe have been under a rock for the last few days, maybe you haven't heard that Photo Guesseroo got approved by Apple, and we're doing some beta testing with that app right now in Australia and New Zealand. And I don't know about you, but I haven't really got any sleep since then. That's why I look the way that I do. Since we got that announcement that that app and game was approved by Apple, people have been going crazy. It really is one of the first big validation points of the power of Rippln. And once we start going live with that, which we're going to talk a little bit about today on this Hangout, once we start going live with that, you're going to watch people around the world that have been sort of sitting on the fence watching Rippln. They're going to go all in. They're going to go crazy. They're going to freak because of how fast we can grow a community. So I'm thrilled to have some friends of mine on the Hangout right now, calling in from either Portland or Vancouver is Ronnie Custer. Hey, Ronnie, what's up, buddy? We've got Jody. Jody, I always say Tarleton. Is that right? You're muted.
Tarleton, but with the T.
Tarleton, and where are you at? You're in Alabama? Hey, I'm a good guesser. We've got Fred Barker on from Dallas, Texas, but his microphone isn't working, so he's frustrated. Hey, Fred, good to see you, buddy. Hey, you can type notes, and I'll just say whatever it is that you type. And then a good friend of mine I've known for years, Eric Zedike from Indianapolis, Indiana, hence the shirt he's wearing. So,
that's right. It's game day, baby.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, good morning. I'm happy to be on with everybody. You know, it really is a fun time in Rippln. The last 2 weeks have been crazy. The last 2 weeks have been a blast. 2 Mondays ago, we hosted a webinar called, I just called it Rippln Products, and it was all about the different things that we're going to be offering folks in the Ripple in the world. And we talked about our hard goods products from like our smartwatches and our partnership, our OpenID partnership with Case Monkey and companies like that, where people can go and shop and get products they'd always want to get anyways, but get them through the Ripple and be rewarded. We talked about our coaching products and some of our content-based products with the E-Factor with Joseph McClendon. We talked about digital products, apps and games. We talked about Candy Crush and Guesseroo, and I mean, it was insane. And then if I didn't think it could get any better, Wednesday night last week, we did a webinar about the rewards plan. Jonathan Budd and myself walked through how to win the Rippln game as it relates to making money, as it relates to getting paid. And in any game, a lot of games are always just about bragging rights and getting your name in the paper. Well, this game's about cashing checks. This game is about winning financially and building an audience of people that you're rewarded off of when they consume things. So this last week, we did some state of play calls on Tuesday night, releasing the announcement that Photo Guesseroo has been approved by Apple, and that we would spend a period of time, maybe a few days or a couple of weeks in Australia and New Zealand, sort of kinking out any snags in that game or in that platform. So we're in the process of doing that right now. I know people are going nuts online about it, and we're going to hear from some folks about what they're doing to get geared up to go ready for that. But Thursday night, 2 nights ago, we did another webinar. I think you're noticing a trend. As we get closer to sort of letting this rocket fly into the sky, we are increasing our communication. We are increasing the clarity for people about how much there is in the Rippln conversation, how much there is to know, how much there is to be had, and how exciting it is. So this Hangout's no different. This is just another episode, so to speak, on the how do I build a big business in Rippln. So it looks like we got one other friend that's joined. Hey, Brian Fryer, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Great, Mikey. How's it going, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. I'm glad to have you on. Well, you just got in. Why don't you kick us off? Share with us. I know you got a big team all over the world, all over Malaysia, all over the Philippines. You got hundreds of people in Brazil. You got people all over. Share with us a little bit about knowing that Guesseroo got approved and we're just days away from popping that thing. What are you doing to get your team geared up, and why are you excited?
Man, it's such an exciting time right now. I just was actually in contact with some of my Malaysia team this morning through the Voxer app. Actually, it's a great way to communicate with those guys over there. But they're gearing up. There's my daughter. Say good morning, Spoony. No, but we're just super excited. I mean, those guys are creating such massive momentum and chaos over there in the Philippines and Malaysia, and just getting ready for this Photo Guestaroo app. Obviously, they're excited about the Rippln Communicator app coming as well, but just continuing to drive, diving down deep, connecting with not only my Malaysia leaders, but some of their leaders that are, in Japan or in China or in Europe, Australia, all over the place. And so just keeping those true connections, those relationships, because obviously that's what this is about, guys. It's about keeping those relationships, building those friendships, and just keep diving down together and building this thing together.
Yeah, that's killer. It is wild when you start getting to know more people around the world. People get excited. I mean, languages that you don't know how to speak, that you're doing translated webinars and hangouts with them, and that's what's been a lot of fun. Sort of watching that grow. Hey, Ronnie Custer, good morning, man. Glad to have you on. Share with us a little bit about what you're doing as well. Knowing that Guestaroo is approved and we're close, what are you doing between now and then? You can get specific. Like Hangouts you and I have done, or Hangouts or calls you've done with Nino with your different group out of Barbados, or the ones out of Russia, or the ones here in the States. Talk a little bit about what you're doing to gear up for it.
Specifically, I'm actually reaching out. I talk to every single person that I have in my Rippln, just like new people. I'm reaching out to the old people. I mean, that's the given. That's stuff that we're doing. But one of the main things I've been doing is I'm going back to just sharing this with new people. So like yesterday, I was actually getting bid for my tux, and I actually got the guy that he suited me up, and I got him into the Rippln, and the girl that ran me out, so I'm just going back to getting 3 to 5 people a day personally, because these people are completely new and completely excited, and some of the old people I have, they've been on the fence for so long that they're just ready to they just need to see that there's new stuff coming, and they're starting to get it now that that it's not just we have this stuff actually rolling out right now, so it's super exciting just resharing with everybody that, hey, we're at a place now where this stuff's coming out in the next couple of weeks, and so either get off the fence or just watch it happen and watch it pass you by like you've done everything else in your life.
It's it really is sort of one of those things where some people are gonna I heard somebody say on a call, I think it was Larry Lane, he goes, look, you got fence sitters that are that are one way or the other, and he goes, well, guess what? Guestaroo just got approved. That fence just caught on fire. You better hit one way or the other. Go left or go right. Jody, good morning. Thanks for calling in. I know you again got a team of thousands of people. I don't know if you're at 10,000 quite yet, but getting there. Share with us a little bit what you've been doing. A couple things. I want to switch the question a little bit to hit the ranks through the Rippln. How do you get to level 3, 4, and 5? And then specifically, what are you doing to help your teams also hit those ranks using that player statistics tab?
Well, thank you very much for having me on the call today. Yeah, my Team Tidal Wave is doing it. I'm very, very proud of them, and I think we're going to go to 9,300 today, so I'm looking forward to going over the 10,000 mark. I go into that play tab and I look at what I need to get to that next level, and it does give you a scoreboard. I think we talked about that in one of the calls, that you actually can see that scoreboard and if you're winning or you're losing, and that's a really good motivator for me. But I'm that type of person that likes to win, so I'm trying to get those people that function off of that, that want to win type personality, get them to look at the scoreboard, see where they're at, and where they need to go to get to that next level. One of the things that I'm really happy about with Rippln is that I feel that when people come in here that don't have anything to do with building teams and things like that with the game, that they're going to start seeing that their social network is a lot bigger than they could even imagine, because I know I had no idea I would be where I am today based off of April 13th, ever. So for Rippln to show me what kind of impact I have on the social networking world, it's been a huge wake-up call for me. And it does make you feel really very, very good, part of a big, big team, It's a little bit from everyone to make the team work. So I'm real excited about it.
I mean, the whole conversation built around Rippln, and as you were saying that, I wrote down Rippln value. What's your Rippln value in the market? If you ask somebody that, they would be like, no, I don't know what you mean. But that's exactly what you just described. Your ripple value is the impact. It's your reward on the impact that you've had on the world forever. And like you said, as you start to realize just how large it is, it's sort of crazy. So I'm glad that you shared that. It's Eric Zedek and I talk about that for a long time, or often. He runs a lot of philanthropic things in his business. He helps basically run and organize golf tournaments all over, for the most part, Indiana and Illinois, but I think other places too. And it's all built around raising money. It's all built around promotion. It's all built around, collectively building audiences of people in these tournaments. And him and I talk all the time about what it's like with that ripple effect, like what you can turn something into if you just knew how to track it, if you just knew how to organize it. So Eric, good morning, brother. Glad to have you.
Good morning, Ben. Thanks. Glad to be here.
You were telling me a story earlier today. I want you to retell it again. And I've known you for 4 years, and I didn't know this. Well, I guess I don't know everything about your dad, but about your family. Tell me that story again. I think it's going to resonate and make a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something I've shared with my team as well. Basically, 30-plus years ago, which is going to age myself for everybody, my dad was the owner of a franchise called United Consumers Club. Most people should be aware of the company. It's now called Buy Now. They used to advertise really, about 4 or 5 years ago, they advertised quite a bit, the Buy Now company. Well, he was a franchise owner of United Consumers Club. And basically, if you're not aware of what the Buy Now model is, it's pretty much a buyer's club where people are buying into the opportunity to go in and you can buy everything from kitchen utensils all the way up to vehicles and everything in between. And so growing up from the time I was 4 or 5 years old, I basically lived at his business of him selling those membership fees that people could come in and then buy basically wholesale or discounted products that they would buy, from washers and dryers, refrigerators, to clothes, and as I said, even up to vehicles, that they pretty much would pay a membership fee to become a part of. And I don't recall the fee. I'm thinking it was like $300 or $400 from what I remember, and this is 30 years ago, that they can then come in and they would literally flip through magazines. He had offices just filled with magazines of all the different manufacturers. And people would come and they would just flip through these magazines as they were looking for specific items, and then they would want to purchase, and then they would then purchase it through his company. But as I told Michael, I said Rippln made total sense as he shared this with me months and months ago. Love that song. That it made total sense because now everyone that we bring to the table can be rewarded, whereas with his company, he, the business owner, was pretty much the only one that was getting rewarded as people were buying all these different things. So we went from basically the United Consumers Club model or the Buy Now to, I'm saying Buy Now, sorry, it's Direct Buy, my apologies. So Direct Buy to then Amazon came along where everything was online, and basically now we have Rippln, which I think is going to change that model once again, that we're going to bring people to the table to purchase the different things, whether it's physical products to digital products, all the way through our Ripple. So it just made total sense, and like I said, I've shared that with my team, and just to kind of correlate kind of the story with them. And so yeah, it just totally makes sense, and we're super jacked about what's happening and what's coming, and obviously the Guesseroo has just totally made everything real for those people that have been in my Ripple, kind of waiting for things to happen.
It's funny watching the natural progression, and even almost like a Costco, when you think about sort of the power behind group buying or a private club or an exclusive club where you get certain member benefits. Think of, as you brought that up to me, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but as you look at, if you look at how Groupon works, it's really just a different form of group buying. What we're creating is an incentivized community where people have an incentive to go share with their friends, and it's not just limited to hard goods products. I sat with a buddy of mine last night who he's an affiliate marketer, so he makes all his revenue off of Amazon. He sells other people's stuff, and he does it through creating leads online. And he goes, I didn't realize what Rippln was doing was crossing 3 or 4 or 5 different verticals and industries with hard goods products like our Martian smartwatch that you saw Jonathan Budd demoing in Dallas, talking into his wrist, or digital products like Guesseroo or Candy Crush and other games and apps, or content-related products like the E-Factor with Joseph McClellan that you're familiar with, that you guys have all seen online, that I bought, and it's incredible, or many, many of the other things that we're releasing. It really is a unique conversation that people just understand. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to understand what we have our hands on. I'm going to have a little fun here and put Fred on the front screen. His mic doesn't work. He's at his church, and the computer he's on, he says, I love Rippln. So Fred and I have known each other for years, and we do a call the other day with one of his buddies in Dallas, okay? The guy's a baby boomer. He's probably 50, maybe, 10 years before, 10 years later, I don't know. And we get on, the guy's name is Darren, and I said, so Darren, what's happening, man? What's going on? And I mean, you can just tell he's from just deep Texas. His accent, I mean, it was awesome. I'm picturing big old cowboy hat, big old belt buckle. I mean, his Texas drawl was amazing. And I said, so tell me what you think about Rippln. Like, what do you like about it so far? What made sense? Sort of, you tell me why you joined. Like, what do you, talk to me. And he goes, well, Michael, for the first time in my life, my wife's about to make me $1 million. And I started laughing, and I said, oh, yeah, why is that? And he goes, as much time as she spends on Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram, you'd think she owns the company. And I said, man, my wife too. And we were talking about, I said, the minute my wife got on Pinterest, I haven't eaten a normal meal since then. Because every meal we eat, my wife gets the recipe off of Pinterest or Instagram or something. And he goes, man, you'd think she invented that darn thing as often as we're on there. And he goes, so I'm a business guy. I understand distribution. I understand products. I understand that stuff. I'm not a tech guy. Now, my wife, she's into all the social platforms. She's into all the cool things online. And he goes, and when I saw this, I saw it as a way that, one, we could work together. And he goes, and if my wife, quote unquote, gets this, we're going to go nuts. This thing's going to grow like crazy. So instantly he came in and became a player. As Fred was sitting with him, I mean, it wasn't like he was a fan for a month and it's like, oh yeah, I should be a player. He became a player immediately. And right away went out and got his first 10 people, got 2 of those first 10 to instantly become players. And he's just marching through the levels, level 1 player, level 2 player, level 3 player. And in doing so, has put in 50-something people. At the same time, a brand new relationship Fred introduced. Her name is, I want to say Jeannie. I could be mispronouncing it. Jeannie has also enrolled 20 or 30 people, became a player. Another person in his group under a friend of ours, Chris, his name is Jody. Jody has gone over 200 or 300 people. And all of that activity has now pushed Fred into a level 4 player because he's got 8 personal players and 1,000 fans. So as this thing keeps growing, you can see his enthusiasm. It's not just about Fred, it's about his people. So in order for him to hit level 5 player, Fred has got to go get 2 more personal players, but he's got to go get another 1,500 team fans. So he has to tap Jeannie and Jody and Darren and Chris and all these other people and Tony, all these other folks, and they've got to go out and put in new fans. In order for him to hit level 5, it's going to take a team effort. And what's so fun about watching this grow is it really is the power of one. So I'd love to, real quick, we'll start with Brian Fryer and just go left to right. And Fred, I'll tell your story since you can't speak. Or you know what? As I ask the question, Fred, type your answer in and then I'll respond to it. Brian, I'll start with yours. Maybe cover the funniest or the most unique or the most, I guess random might be the right word, ripple that you have. In other words, where it came from. And, I'll start. I find myself on a Hangout the other day. I was the only American on it, and there were 9 countries represented, from Estonia to Russia to Israel to all these Eastern European Russian-speaking countries, from an invitation to a college buddy of mine a year ago. And it's turned into 100,000 people in my Ripple. So Brian, share a story like a line of relationships that you have, and the power of one of how it started.
Yeah, well, I think I mean I got to give a shout out to Stacy. I mean, her group is absolutely on fire right now, and she's been and being our biggest group, and get to every single one of these people and realize that, I mean, heck, 3/4 of her team is very in Texas, and being able to connect with those people and hear their stories and why they're excited to build Rippln and what a big impact this is going to end up playing in their lives. I think this has been super awesome. And just another quick story is my group from Europe. I mean, we did a hangout last week with my group out there. It was a personal fan I introduced here in Texas, actually, and she is no longer a part. And I mean, sad to say that, but it led me to meet Daniel out there in Croatia, and he had his buddy from Yugoslavia, and his buddy from China, and his buddy from Australia, and then they had a buddy that was from Iceland, believe it or not, and it was a father-son, and the son was I think just turned 17, and they're just so freaking fired up about Rippln and the ripple that they've created, and being able to see that now, they're just jacked out of their minds and just super stoked to power up, become players, and continue building this as big as they can.
Yeah, that's a funny group. I know you've got probably 4 or 5 different ones from the group in Malaysia and Indonesia that you've got from a personal relationship. Your introduction to Stacy to her sister Dawn to a friend on Facebook, Kika, and then 600 or 700 people in Brazil from that line. I mean, it really is pretty wild, and it does become the power of one. And you were introduced from a long-term relationship with a guy that you've known for years. He was introduced from a relationship with a guy, Larry. Larry has known Mike. Mike has known Jeff, and Jeff's known me. So it's crazy to think sort of from the catbird seat, looking at a big audience like that, to think that it all started with an original invitation that you just don't know where it's going to grow. Z-Dyke, I know you've got several of those with Orwig and Lindy. Maybe share just a couple of those stories of some of those relationships that you've had and how they've grown just from the power of one through your Ripple.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm kind of the same way as he is. I've got multiple stories I probably could share with you. Eric Giroux is one of them. He's a high school friend of mine back in the day. He's one of the first, I think he was the second or third person I shared Rippln with months and months ago. He's a big gamer. He plays lots of stuff online, the games back and forth, and doesn't really know anybody on a personal level other than just through his keypad, through his computer screen. So he's connected with a lot of people internationally who know other people, and obviously you've been on some of those, chats with us as well. As you mentioned, Mike Orwig through Lindy Drudge, through this person to the next. That
Tell that story. Tell the Lindy and Orwig story.
How they met. So Mike and I, we went to school together. We played sports together back in high school. He was, I think, the first person I actually introduced this to, besides Eric. And basically after, I don't know, a month or so of us sharing this and Mike sharing it with people, he said, hey, I've got somebody I want you to chat with. I shared it with him last night on Facebook. So, of course, before I get on the phone with someone, I always want to kind of know the backstory of it. And he said, well, we met 8 years ago on my honeymoon in Jamaica. And I said, you're kidding me. And I said, so have you guys kept a relationship? And he said, well, it's been one of those Facebook relationships. You like their postings, and I've watched them have kids and post their stuff about kids, but we've just stayed in touch through Facebook. That's pretty much it. So yeah, they connected 8 years ago in Jamaica on their honeymoons. Both couples were on their honeymoon, and they've lived in Florida. They lived in Indiana. They live now in Charlotte, North Carolina, is where Lindy and Kevin reside. So it was just really crazy for me to hear that story prior to me connecting up with him on the phone. And we kind of laughed about that initially as I got on the phone with him. I said, so let me get this right. You guys met each other 8 years ago in a foreign country, and you really don't even stay in touch together, but yet he's introducing this to you. The Drudges obviously are on board. They've been to numerous of our events, and they are now pushing, I think, about 2,000 people in their Ripple, just from that connection with Mike. So it's pretty wild.
It is wild. They met at the swim-up bar, I'll have you know, in the swimming pool.
Yep.
And 8 years later, it's turned into 2,000 people just in one invitation of their Ripple. You just don't know where it's going to grow. I mean, you just sow seeds and they happen. I met Fred Barker 4 years ago when I first got in the mobile marketing and text messaging space. He was one of the very first people I ever introduced to. We just stayed in touch. We've worked together since then. When we introduced Rippln to him, it just made sense. So Fred goes to a networking mixer as a guest of this woman, Tony. And he's just a guest sitting there minding his own P's and Q's, which he doesn't know how to do because he'll talk to everybody about Rippln. So one of the women that's there's 30 people there. And then the meeting thins down to about 8 or 10 or 15. And Fred has the ability, a couple people ask him about Rippln. So he starts sharing with them a little bit about how it works. One particular woman, the rest of them split. One woman, Jody, comes up and says, I'm all in. This sounds insane. So we do a call with her a few days later. She puts in 100 people into the Ripple. She comes to the Dallas event a couple weeks ago, books her tickets to Vegas. I mean, she's losing her mind. Has me on the phone with comedians and business owners, and she's got, you know, famous celebrity comedian friends in Vegas that we're going to hang out with when we get there. And I won't tell you his name particularly, but just all kinds of really fun relationships. So those several hundred people that have joined already came from you could think of it as like a random fluke introduction at a random networking event. I don't believe there's a lot of accidents in life, but you know, those relationships, it really is the power of an invitation. So Tony, Fred goes, by the way, I'm enrolling Jody. She's going to go direct to you, Tony. Let's rock and roll. So then Tony gets excited, Chris gets excited, Fred gets excited, I get excited. It really is the power of diving deep in somebody's Ripple and turning sort of something out of nothing, a brand new relationship into a huge global Ripple. So that thing has been growing like crazy. So, you know, look, Fred's working and I'm doing the webinar for him. Jody, I know you've experienced the same thing with all the thousands of people that you've been able to grow to. You know, people always say that. Somebody said, I don't know 200,000 people. How could I ever grow a team that big? And it's not about the people that you know. It's about the people that they know and the ones that they know. So Jody sort of shared that same that same thread of some of the stories of how your Ripple has grown into what it is off those relationships.
Okay. Well, you know what I find is, and I like to make sure that I remind people of this when they post stuff on Facebook or in the team room, things like that, is we all began with one, and that's really a huge, it's a huge picture to have in your mind, because a lot of people come into things like this and think, I can never grow it that big. I don't have any of those relationships. I can't do this. I can't do that. But when you can honestly say, you know what, I didn't think I could do it either. But it happened, and it all happened from one. I mean, your Ripple happened from one. Everybody's Ripple happened from one. We all started. And I've seen this viral actually take effect and go somewhere, and that's why I think I have more of a conviction in my voice and telling people that you can do this, because it can be done. I'm watching it, you know, and that's huge. One thing, I just got Skype worldwide, so I'm looking forward to going in and really honing in different countries and things like that. But I will tell you that I got one person on my team. His name is Dale Christofferson, and he is deaf. He right now has 15 deaf people on his Ripple, and he's created an American Sign Language video of the Wealth Revolution video. It was a little hard for us to do it, to put it all into play, you know, via long distance and all, but enough that he got 5 people yesterday on his Ripple. And I just think he's bringing this entire thing to a whole different market of people that normally wouldn't be able to enjoy what Rippln's going to be bringing to people's lives. So I just wanted to give him a heads up, thumbs up.
It's really cool, Jody, when you messaged me and said, hey, I've got some folks in my group that they can't hear what's on the video, and you know, what's the solution? And you go, well, I've got and Jody goes, well, let me see if one of these guys could sign it for us. And I go, let's do it. So we got our hands on the script of the video, and you know, that's what's so fun about this is there's no barriers. There really is no barriers. Whether it be a language, which sign is a language, whether it be you've got somebody in a different country and they've we need to get it translated into those languages for those people. It's fun. Here's what's fun for me is you're growing an audience in groups of people that you've never fathomed you would be communicating with them. I mean, it's unbelievable. Think about this. Now, Will introduced you personally, right, Jody?
Yes.
Okay, so Will Cormidy's got 30,000 people in his Ripple. Of the 10 or 20 or 50 that he instantly put into the Ripple, you were one of them. You were just one invite. He had no clue what you were going to do. He just said, look, get in, let's roll. And of some of the other people who may have even had a stronger resume, so to speak, or more connections or more whatever than you did, you're the one standing there going, ha, 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 look at me now. And that's what's really fun is you just never know. You never know who's going to really rock. It just comes down to that power of one and then taking action. As these games drop, the apps drop, watches drop, products drop, as we go crazy around the world, you just don't know who's going to be the rainmaker, so to speak. So we appreciate everything that you guys are doing and what your whole team is doing. Ronnie, share sort of that same sentiments, and you're going to be our last speaker. We're going to end here in just a minute. But share with us, I know you've got a group in Barbados that has grown. I mean, every day you're adding new people, which I think is the last thing I want to end with. Gearing up for this next sort of turning of the corner in Rippln. The first paychecks are rolling out in 6 days next Friday. Well, you actually don't get paper checks, but you know what I mean. Money's dropping. Apps and games and products are dropping. So it's becoming amazingly real for people. As that happens, personally enrolling brand new people is the life's blood of your Ripple. Share with us what you're doing every day to make that happen.
So for me, I'm just reaching out back to like those first members. Like, so one of the persons I have to like share with would be Igor. We go to church together, and I met him a couple months ago at a Super Bowl party with a bunch of his brothers. We call them the Russians, and pretty much from them we just started sharing with people. And so all of a sudden there was like his cousin Arthur who lives in like Florida, and he shared with his friend in Pennsylvania, and he shared with his friend in Norway, and all of a sudden we had this whole group of Norway people came in, like 480 people, and all people all throughout Europe. And it was all because I had that one connection with Igor. And so when we saw this thing just blow up out of nowhere, and so now we're rolling in the new products, now they're all getting excited again because they're like, wow, we got to have something tangible, that's about to just like pop again. And so we're talking with, we had a hangout the other day with, I don't know, there must have been 15 of the Ivanov Russian crew at their house in front of an iPad, all surrounding, you like barely see all of them in the picture. And Andre kind of took over the iPad, and he started sharing that he just got back from Ukraine, and he's just like told us like these stories. He's like, you know how many people we can help there? He's like, the average income's like $400, and he's like, if we can help them make $100, that's a 20% pay raise, and they can't make money in their country, and now this is a world market. And he was just like he was so excited, he just didn't know, he couldn't sit still. And so it was just like stories like that, where people are going to other countries, they're traveling around, they're seeing that like they don't have the same opportunities that we have here in the United States, and to be able to capitalize in markets outside of them, or so I think that's what's worth fun. It's just like refining relationships that we've had from like a long time ago. Like another friend that I met, Rippln. I met him at church, and I soon meet a lot of people at church, and he just kind of came in, and then he kind of went out, and he was from Barbados, and he shared with a couple of his cousins, and and now all of a sudden Barbados and all those little island chains there are just popping, and I don't know any of them, but it's fun to do hangouts with him because he's you get the one guy like Raphael, he's on the computer, he's all trying to turn his computer different directions just so he can get enough internet coverage just so we could like see his face, because like he's like, it's so hot here. He's like, I can't wait to come visit you guys. And so
and they all sound like Rihanna.
Oh yeah, actually, and Ramel, like the girl he dated when he was in ROTC, was like best friends with Rihanna. He has like a picture with them back then. So it's just funny. You never know. Like, or like I had lunch with a friend last week named Chris, and one of the things that like I had no idea, he does production stuff, and he actually knows like a lot of people in media. And I made that joke, how like we're 7 degrees away from Kevin Bacon or whatever to him. And he's just like, I don't know what you mean. I'm like, like I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, like a Ripple, where, that somebody eventually knows Kevin Bacon. Like your hairstylist knows, like the dog groomer knows Kevin Bacon. He's like, oh, I never heard that joke before, but he's like, you don't know Kevin Bacon? I'm like, no, I don't know Kevin Bacon. And he showed me his phone, that he has Kevin Bacon's number in his phone because he's done projects with him. And I'm like, who else you got in there? And so I'm not going to say any more names because, these are people we're going to start talking to. But he has a whole laundry list of people in his phone of these people he's worked with on these different things. And so I'm like, cool, so you just never know. And so, like, I just constantly, the whole goal every day is that, you have all these people that have been in since, some of us have been around since October, some of us have been hearing the conversation since November, some since March, some since April, some since May and June. But to me, the people that get the most excited are the people you talked to yesterday and the people you get on a Hangout today, because me and Michael did a couple Hangouts just like a week ago with some new people, and I mean, like literally after 10 minutes of being on the phone, just being on a Google Hangout and just kind of showing them parts of the player process in the back office, they signed up to be players within 10 minutes, like my friend Dennis. I mean, it was just like, we were just like, wow. I mean, it's just like 10 minutes of just seeing something. He's okay, I'm in. He's like, I don't know. He's like, you guys are going to make a lot of money, and I need in. And so I think it's just, and you don't have to do them with Michael. You just have to be able to get on the phone and just kind of show them stuff, because, I mean, they haven't seen anything. Everything's completely new. So, there's tons of salty people, but there's tons of people that are just ready for, like, something bigger than, and they've been waiting for something.
I'm with you, man. And what's so fun, and we'll wrap up with just a couple more things. It's a blast watching your Ripple grow and people really take ownership of it. And as we wrap, I think you'll start seeing people that separate themselves from the pack, going from a fan, becoming a player, going from a player to be a pro player all the way to a level 5 player to an all-star player. And then you'll start seeing people duplicate their efforts. They'll start making it their business to pop players, to pop pro players, to pop level 5 players. And a lot of the focus right now is power-ups. I mean, as these games start dropping, it's either going to be a fun game for somebody or an income stream for somebody, whether they become a player or not, and whether they really dive in with both feet and start running with us. So that's a big point for us, is to really increase the communication with people on those fronts. Tap into all the webinars that we have going on. As you know, last week we announced that we would be even doing more to create clarity on Guesseroo, answer questions about Guesseroo, get people a clearer understanding of how it's going to be tracked, how to build it, how to frame it. Those are all important things that over the coming days that you're going to learn how to do better. But I can promise you right now, it is all about growth. It's all about tapping in and creating stickiness and glue with the people in your Ripple, and absolutely sprinting with us. So I'm super happy and glad that we could spend some time with Brian Fryer, Eric Zedike, Fred Barker, Jody Tarleton, Ronnie Custer, and myself. So have an awesome Saturday. Thanks so much for paying attention and chiming in. See y'all.
See you.